Here are some tips for teaching your kids about nutrition. Children get bombarded with advertisements for candy, junk food, and unhealthy snacks every day. And there's also peer pressure to fit in and be just like everybody else, so it's best to establish clean eating habits as young as possible. What you know first comes back soonest, so even if they do rebel as teenagers and stop off at the corner shop on the way to school for a breakfast of a sugary donut washed down with a soft drink, they'll soon grow out of the phase and return to eating healthily. Also, if you have a clean eating regime at home, then any damage is likely to be minimal anyway. Now, some of the most important aspects of clean eating are controlling portion sizes and reducing fats. Some ways to reduce fat intake include serving low-fat or non-fat dairy products, skim milk, all that sort of thing. Serving poultry without the skin. And I'd also say doing, steaming it or pan cooking it without actually deep frying it, that sort of thing. Also, eating lean cuts of meat, lean cuts of beef, lamb, chicken, etc. Having whole grain bread and cereals. Don't eat white processed bread. Eat the natural malted grains. And having healthy snacks, healthy snacks such as fruit and vegetables instead of candy or chips. You should also serve modest portions to your children, portions that are appropriate for their age. And something else is don't insist that kids clear their plate. Lots of parents do this. They say, they're starving in Eritrea, so eat up. And insist that they eat everything that's on their plate. Sometimes parents are afraid that their kids are going to become anorexic if they don't eat everything. But the thing is, especially if you serve the right portion for the child's age, they know when they're full. And clearing their plate or insisting that they have to clear their plate gets them into the habit of overeating, and that can have detrimental health effects when they grow up. Because they think that they've got to be really full and bloated after every meal, which isn't really the way that it should be. But as I was saying earlier, what you know first comes back to you soonest. Something else that you can do is to cut down on sugary soft drinks or eliminate them at home altogether. Fizzy water with a slice of lemon or a splash of fruit juice is just as refreshing as some bottled or canned soft drinks. Another thing is don't use junk food as a reward. You often hear parents say things like, if you do well on your exams, we'll go out for a burger. Well, that gives junk food an unwarranted mystique or an unwarranted value. Kids tend to associate it with a reward associated with doing well. So therefore, it's something that has high value, whereas in fact, really, it's something that's very bad for them. And you also want to guide your children's choices rather than dictate the sort of foods that they can eat, because that's just going to set you up for problems further down the road. So have a wide variety of healthy foods available at home. And this will get your kids into the habit of making clean food choices, because obviously there's not going to be anything else available. They'll have to choose one clean food over another. So leave the dirty choices, things like chips, soft drinks, candy, and so on, off of your shopping list. Something else to do or something else to don't do rather is don't take your kids grocery shopping until they're older or until you've established a clean eating regime at home. You see, supermarkets harness pester power to sell junk food aimed at kids. Supermarkets know that once the kids are old enough to walk around and not be strapped into the seat in the shopping cart, they're going to wander around, they're going to see something that appeals to them in a package that's perfectly designed to appeal to them and grab it off the shelf and, look, Mom, look, Dad, can we have this? And, pester, and eventually, well, the parents give in. So if you don't take them shopping, then that's not going to happen. But when they are old enough, or when you wean them off of junk food, then take them grocery shopping and show them where the healthy food is. A trip to your local farmer's market can be beneficial at any age, and it can help kids learn where good food really comes from. Growing your own vegetables at home can also help as well if your garden is big enough. You should also have regular meal times so the children get into the habit of having a meal at a regular time. And you should also discourage snacking, especially if they're engaged in another activity like watching TV, because then it's very easy to eat too much. So sit down at the table and eat as a family. And, eating as a family is not just about consuming food. You can catch up on what everybody's doing during the day, that sort of thing. And you can also get your older children to help you with cooking, and not only are you passing on life skills, but you're also teaching them about food, about clean eating, about staying healthy, about making healthy food choices. You also want to make sure that meals outside the home are healthy, and this includes school meals. Now, lots of schools will actually publish the menus that they're going to be serving to the children online so you can check, or they will send a copy home with the kid so that you can see what he or she is going to be eating every day, and you can see that they make sure that they have the healthy option. Of course, if you pack a lunch for your children, then you'll know exactly what goes into the sandwich, exactly what drink goes into the lunchbox, and that sort of thing. And you also want to make sure that they do actually eat it, that the sandwich doesn't come home uneaten at the end of the day. And then there are meals in restaurants. Kids' menus in restaurants tend to be very unhealthy because they're made to appeal to the children, they're made to be satisfying and that sort of thing. So, if you have, say, 2 children, order an adult meal from the healthy options menu and ask for an extra plate and divide it in between the children. And that's a good way of making sure that you don't sort of pander to the sort of sugary, fat-filled stuff the restaurants like to serve to kids because it's appealing. And of course, you should practice what you preach. Don't be a hypocrite. If you want your kids to practice clean eating, then do so yourself. Don't let them catch you eating a candy bar as you drive your car along or anything like that. You want to lead by example.